Yeah, that was.
Is my webcam good again?
No, your webcam's still frozen. Okay, so
Okay.
now the
Turn it
sound is live.
on. Is
Um,
everyone up?
Joan Ribs is the flickering
Okay.
one. Yeah. And anyway, the only person who is actually competent in the entire broadcast is furthest to the right. We have professional magician Gerald Thompson.
Hi.
Hey, what up? And then I guess I should redo your intros. I'm Adam Winners, you Rex. I'm at the bottom. Hi. Jarvis is at the top left. Say hello, Jarvis.
Hi.
Then we have Sed. Sed is above me. Sed, do you have anything to say?
Better than you.
And Steven has returned. Steven is next to Sed. Steven, do you want to say anything?
Hey guys, what's up?
Alright, so we're here. We have a terrible overlay because I'm dumb. All of these things are in fact my fault. It is not their fault. It is straight up my fault. So, but yeah, I'm really dumb, and I wasn't able to make it really pretty in time. But we do actually have things to talk about today, so I figure we should up and get to it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the Star City Open because it is the first real standard tournament post Avison Restored. Is that accurate? There wasn't like a real thing before that.
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So yeah, we have that top eight. I was personally I was a little bit disappointed. It was just like, oh, these are exactly the same decks. Like that's
Yeah.
that's that's what we will see. There were two like somewhat interesting takes on ramp, like two slightly different roads you can go if you're trying to ramp places and like cast titans and kill your opponent. Um, Hopefully you guys have all seen that top eight. I guess we can just start from the left. Do you have anything fascinating to say about it, Jarvis? Um,
Uh, Not offhand, but we'll go over it in a bit, I guess.
I mean, okay. I guess we should run down what exactly was in there. There were two ramp decks, two Wolf Run ramp decks, two fairly stock Delver lists, so that was 50%, and then we had one red green aggro, one Esper control, one, and then two like humans decks. One was green white, one was red white. Well, the red white one was straight up like you took the old blue white humans and switched in Lightning Mauler and Stormblood Berserker. And the green white was not really a humans deck, because like I'm not totally sure what that green white thing was, but it was a green white thing. So that was the top eight.
Well, I'm in charge of like naming the deck list and stuff,
Okay.
so I could go in there and fix that right now. But the green white deck is just like some token thing, but it had Champion of the Parish, so I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, whatever, humans, sure.
Yeah.
That's a very strange deck list. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Strange is one word for it.
yes.
Yeah.
It was a challenge when I initially looked at it. It was like I know what all these are, and this is like that's about as far as I got. Does anyone have like fascinating things to say about this top eight, like right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, I could say plenty of things.
All right, say some things, do
Come
some
on, Jerry,
stuff.
go first, because I've got lots
Alright.
of things to say too.
Okay, well, it seems like there is a lot of Solar Flare, a lot of Ramp. Both of those make sense, because Titans with Cavernous Souls are very, very good. I think Delver is obviously still a fine deck, but as far as, like, the green-red aggro and the human decks, like, those decks are garbage, and should probably not be played very much in the coming weeks, because I expect a lot of Titans.
You don't want people to increase their savagery and just try and get there that way.
I mean, why would you even try to get there by casting Increasing
I
Savagery? Like,
I,
why don't you
I
just play a real deck that has a decent matchup where you don't need to, like, screw people over with really narrow sideboard cards?
I don't personally know, but
I mean, people are going to play whatever they want to play, so good for them. But,
whoa.
like, once people get used to the format and the things that they actually have to do to win, like, they're not going to be wanting to play those decks anymore.
God.
Whatever do
So
you
for
mean?
those of you who don't know what that sound is, Cedric is on an even less advanced computer than I am right now, and every time his fan turns on, like a jetliner flies over his house.
I don't know why it happens. My computer is brand new and it costs $1,500. I don't know why it happens. Okay.
Stop ripping up those
And
unhinged
like
islands and, like,
950 of those
save
dollars
those.
went towards the fan.
I don't understand. But okay. I pretty much agree with what Jerry said. I don't hate the green-red aggro deck as much as he does, but I think that Titan decks are going to reign supreme for a little while until Delver decks change their game plan. I'm not really surprised that there are two Delver decks in the top 8. I don't know what this green-white... I'm not even going to call it green because that's not what it is. I don't know what that thing is.
It's a thing.
I suppose white-red humans could be a deck. This first pass at it, I suppose, is respectable, even though I'm not in love with it, and these numbers look just... they pulled them out of a hat or whatever. I don't think they're correct. But I mean, that being said, like looking at Lockman's Wolf Run list, I think it's absolute garbage. But that's just my opinion. Like I don't think you need Cavern of Souls main deck. I don't like all these Hunt Masters. So I don't think it's that good of a card. What was the other thing I didn't like about this deck list? Oh, like Infinite Inferno Titans when Inferno Titans not very good in the format. Because like if the decks are going to be Flare and Ramp, then it's just does nothing, but frees them and then dies or whatever. But I think that overall, like the overarching point of having Wolf Run and Solar Flare decks be the top decks in the format is probably correct. And then Delver will reassert itself once it identifies how it needs to answer those decks.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Like on the topic of red white humans, my initial like first blush approach or like opinion on that was like I have played quite a few humans in my time. Like I played the blue white humans deck for quite a bit, even when it very clearly was not the best deck, because I just like hitting people with Hero Blade Hold. Like that was the thing I enjoyed doing. And
It's the new Arc Slogger.
yeah, kind of. Like I did eventually stop playing when I was like, well, this is clearly not the best deck, and I should probably move off this. But like, it was fun, and I enjoyed doing it. I don't think this is a very reasonable way to like sort of broad sample size approach the format, the red white humans deck. But his list looks like roughly as good as red white humans is ever going to be, I think. So like
Yeah.
within the the greater scheme of red white humans, I think he did fine. Um, and also, I think that it's kind of interesting that I think the two Wolf Run decks in the top 8 are actually very distinct. Like the one that isn't Lackman's, I think, like with the Glimmer Post main deck, looks a lot more like the list that you were running said, like the 4 main deck Glimmer Posts, Caverns in the board. He's got like one Devil's Play and one he turned into a Bonfire. But like it looks a lot more like where I think you're coming from with the ramp deck. So those were the two sort of decks where I actually looked at them and thought like, which one of these is better? Whereas the rest were just like, this is a stock Esper list, these are stock Delver lists. Like Costa was in the top 16 playing almost exactly the same deck he's been playing for the last 4 months or something like that. Like the numbers were a little wonky, but that's just like it's the same list basically. Um,
I think Lockman, for the most part, just like borrowed a deck from someone. I'm not sure how much thought actually went into the design of his deck.
Okay. I mean, I look at that other Wolf Run deck, and like you mentioned the Bonfire that's in his deck, and like I don't know your guys' opinion on that card, but I think that card's like very bad in that deck because like there's no reason to play such a high variance card when you can just play Devil's Play.
Well,
Like,
I think the joke is that it's like a Whip Flare that doesn't kill your Hunt Masters, so you just like cast it for 5 mana or whatever. But I guess like
I mean,
Hunt Master's not even very good anyway. So
can you really say that if it costs 5 and Whip Flares, it's a Whip Flare? Like that's sort of functionally
well, the point of it is to be a Whip Flare.
right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it does cost 5 to do that, but yeah, you get to keep your Hunt Master. Like I don't know if that actually matters or not.
Right.
But I think that's why he had it in the deck, like Jake was talking about it, Jake Van Loon.
I had a
sure.
I had a fairly extensive discussion with PSAMS, who's not on here, about like he really liked Lackman's list, and I was like I think, and this is a very imperfect understanding of the list, but my understanding is that the two Devils plays are very important, like conceptually, to what you're trying to do against control and stuff like that. Like you need those two Devils plays, and you can't just like take them out and put in a card that's like Devil's Play and expect the same thing to happen.
Yeah,
Because
I agree with that.
like you're
So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
no, I did a playtesting video against Brad Nelson, and I played with Wolf Run, and I think that's like the next one that's going to go up or whatever. But basically, I cut Hunt Master for Thrun, and I kept the two Devil's Plays, and I played two Faithless Lootings, and I played against Solar Flare. And he ended up siding in Nile Spellbombs against me just to get the Devil's Play, and like he actually just
Oh,
beat
yeah.
me a game because of it. Like
I thought that
it
was
matters
standard.
a ton. Like you can't just cut that card and expect control to be an easy matchup. Like they can just kill all your stuff.
What I have found with Devil's Play, especially in that PTQ that I lost in top 4, is that when you play against the Esper deck, you just need to get in like a couple hits with like Solemn, and like if you have Huntmaster in your deck, like maybe get in a hit with like the Wolf token because they'll probably kill like the actual copy of Solemn, and get them to around 14 or something, and then if you're lucky enough to hit them with a Titan, and so be it. And then like you just have to fireball them out because they're just gonna Titan and image you, and like
Yeah.
Ghost Quarter off your Wolf runs and your Nexuses, so like you're not gonna be able to poison them, you're not gonna be able to Wolf run them out of the game. So you just have to get in like your little jabs, hits in there, and then like you just have to draw to your fireballs and just light them up because they have no counter spells.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically what I was doing too. Like anytime I had a Solemn, I could just like play a Wolf Run and just fireball them every turn. You know, if he kills it, whatever. Like I'm just trying to get in for like 5 points whenever I can.
Yep. I totally agree. Like the argument I was receiving was that Inferno Titan is like Devil's Play, but I don't think it is actually at all like Devil's Play. Like
No, that's
not
not
at
even
all
close.
like
Seem
Devil's
like
Play.
Devil's
One of
Play.
them like fireballs them twice, and one of them shocks
Right.
them and dies.
And like even 1x, like half of Devil's Play, like the important part about Devil's Play is you can just tap out on turn 9, like in game 1, and just be like, the other half is coming next turn, good luck.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, like, and then they die. And Inferno Titan does not do that. Like he threes them
Yeah,
and
it's
then
not even
dies to go
close.
for the throat. So
Yeah.
I think the old Wolf Run decks were pretty good against Solar Flare because they had 4 Primal Hunters. So they actually had like this really good engine. So if you actually stuck an Inferno Titan for a turn, like you probably get to draw 6 before they Day of Judgment you and stuff, and you get to keep up that way. So maybe that's a good sideboard card, or Karn Liberated was also very good. I had like 2 Karns, 1 Garruk in my board, and they were both awesome. It might seem a little ambitious to cast them when you have like Caverns and Glimmer Posts and all that stuff, but it was fine.
yeah. But like my overall thought on Wolf Run is that like the new things seem interesting, but it seems like, and Cavern is obviously a powerful tool, but it seems like in the end we're probably going to end up fairly close to where we started in terms of like what lists look like with the Glimmer Posts and like the Devil's Plays and stuff. Like I just don't see a reason to differentiate or like to go too far away from what we had before, which seemed really good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people just want to play with new cards, you know, like,
Yeah.
hence them having 1 bonfire in their deck. Like, there's no rationale for that.
No, it's like I only want to draw it like 2.3% of the time. You don't understand. Like
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything?
Jarvis, Steven, you guys have anything to chime in about on that top 8s? Or Wolf Run in general?
I mean,
I
my
think-
feeling about the Jarvis, I'm just gonna run all over you. But my feeling, my feeling was that it looked a lot like Standard looked like before. Like, I don't know what you're expecting to happen when a new set gets released, but there certainly isn't like a new archetype all of a sudden. There's not that we've seen yet, at least. It looks like the same sort of format with different cards and a slight shift in power balance because of that. But you know, if you knew what Standard was before, you still know what it is.
So I think an undervalued card right now, like a particular undervalued card, is probably Zealous Conscripts, because it's pretty
Really?
reasonable versus.
There were a lot of them in that,
Yeah,
like
there
in
were
that
way
top
more than I
8.
thought there would be.
There were a ton.
Like,
One of
the
those
ramp
Wolf
decks-
Run lists had like 4
yeah.
in their 75.
I think
Yeah,
4 is too many, but
absurd.
Yeah.
I think 2 or 3 is probably the correct number to have. But I think it's a pretty good card in the way the meta is shaking up.
I mean, I totally agree with you that it is a good card. I'm not sure I agree that it was undervalued, but I think it's a good card. So like, I think your point is
Maybe.
valid.
But I think also we should probably see an uptick in like real mirror cards like Beast Withins and possibly Acidic Slime to just like go on the LD plan for mirrors.
Sure.
Yeah, I think Steve Mann won his top 4 match, or I think it was his top 4 match, because he just like Beast Within and like slimed the guy into oblivion.
I mean, that's standard Wolf Run mirror practice, right? Like that's just a thing that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if one guy has it and the other guy doesn't, sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
then
Ever
they just
since
get
it was
destroyed.
tooth and nail, that's the strategy.
Right.
I will
Has it
reap
ever
and
not been
sow
the strategy?
your
I
power
don't know.
plant, good sir.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
it's only the strategy if you respect the mirror match, right?
right, a lot of the lists cut down on the number of those cards, so like I think like the list said had for the Moto PTQs a while back only had 2 Beast Withins and like 1 Acidic Slime.
Yeah, I had one slime and 2 beast withins in the board at this point now. My list has 1 beast within main, 2 board, 1 slime in the main deck still too, and then I have 2 cards to board in the mirror as well.
All right. Well, I think the slime is pretty much garbage. I think the Zenith is garbage. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's like, what situation are you in game 1 where you're going to Zenith for an acidic slime? What could they possibly have that you can't just like wait a turn, get a Titan, or just get a Hunt Master?
Sword?
Yeah, the only situation. So this is my overarching opinion on acidic slime. I absolutely hate the card. Like I hate when I see it in like the green red aggro deck list and just like a lot of decks with Zenith because like they feel like they're supposed to just jam it in a deck that has Green Sun Zenith in it. But like the only deck that can realistically cast it and have it be relevant and have an impact is a deck that can Zenith for it early or cast it ahead of schedule, and Ramp is the only deck that can do that. So that's why I continue to play one, and it's actually got me out of situations just like if like dude has a Mana Barbs or whatever, or like dude has like a Sword of Feast and Famine, or I have to blow up one of his Metamorphs or something like that. Like it's not great or anything, and I was very skeptical when I started playing the deck, but it's actually been relevant enough times for me that I'm not going to cut it now.
I don't know. That's really weird. It seems like a lot of crazy corner case situations where it's like they're not going to have Mana Barbs game 1, so you don't need the slime there. People don't have Sword of Feast and Famine game 1. So it's just like you should be boarding Disenchants, I guess, for these people.
Well, I have Disenchants, but I think like I have Disenchants, but I think you want to like up the number of like ways that you can find it. So because I'm playing 4 Zeniths in my deck, and my deck is basically revolving around having 8 Primeval Titans in my deck instead of like a couple Inferno Titans, which I think are garbage, I think it lends itself for you to play Slime in your deck because it's like only 1 card. Maybe it shouldn't be in the main deck. Maybe it should be in the sideboard instead. But I mean, I have a Corruptor in the board to Zenith for to get me out of those situations, along with 2 or 3 Naturalizes. So it's kind of hard to say, I guess.
I don't know. I think the slime is probably not worth it, and I've certainly played the deck less than you. But, you know, like, you're saying that, like, slime being an out to Mana Barbs is a thing just seems completely unrealistic to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best out, but it is in out. Like,
Oh, a Mana Barbs? I'll just tap these 6
not
lands!
Yeah, exactly.
not half the Slime of Barbs, but, like, Slime has so many applications in that matchup that, like, it's actually just pretty good. And, like, I think, I'm not positive on this, but I think, like, you want Slime pretty bad against the Esper decks that are going to have, like, Black Curse against you, and they're going to have O-Ring. So it has some value there.
Yeah, I just sided into Rare Revelations and a Plans.
Okay, sure.
Ooh. I like it. It's spicy.
I have a bunch of Naturalizes in my sideboard. I play, like, 3 Naturalize, no Grudge, so...
Okay.
Do you ever board out a Green Sun Zenith? Ever?
I don't... I've been, like, experimenting with boarding one out when I reduce, like, the green creatures that I have in the lower part of the curve, but it's just always wrong, because I just want as many Primeval Titans as possible in my deck, because that's all my deck is meant to do, especially if you're playing the Glimmer Post version, so...
I have a couple, like, one thing I wanted to wrap with was, do you think the standard format is going to become more different / interesting if more people spend more time on it? Like, was this tournament sort of unexciting and looked exactly like it did pre-rotation because we were missing a bunch of people testing for the PT and like they just weren't, like there hasn't been enough time yet? Or is this actually just what standard looks like for the next 4 months?
No, I think that's part of it, and then there might be like card availability stuff, and a lot of it has to do with like people needing to see someone do well with the deck before they pick it up.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe if something new like this red-white human deck, like maybe that actually becomes a thing because it made a top 8.
Okay.
Ugh.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a thing for a long time, but like,
No,
yeah.
it won't, but like it'll be a deck that people play.
Right, sure. I didn't want to sound like we're sounding the death knell for this format, like, okay guys, back to work, same format you've had for the last 6 months. Like, I mean, it could still get shaken up. But
No, it takes a while. Like, it doesn't
yeah,
get broken week 1 or whatever, but, like, as the lists get more tuned, like, you can see that top 8 or even top 32, and you're like, okay, well, this is what the format used to look like, but those decks are all, like, pretty terrible. There's a ton of, like, 1 and 2 ofs. There's a lot of Faith Shields in these people's decks, like that crazy green, white, black human deck. Costa had 2 Faith Shields. Like, what the hell is he doing? There's no way he can think that that's right.
I mean, I feel
Like, these
like
decks are not tuned.
Bing had one faith shield in his list that he just like murdered a million people, and he must have looked at that and been like, well, if I have twice as many faith shields, I
Yeah,
should
yeah,
kill
murder
like
twice as many people.
yeah, should kill an
I
entire
feel
continent.
I feel very safe with 2 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
extremely safe.
Never gonna kill my guy.
Well, we heard from Dave Crew like a month ago that if you have a what's that card called, Bloodline Keeper, and you faith shield it, you almost
Oh,
certainly win
yeah.
the game. So like maybe that's the angle he was approaching. I don't think he had any Bloodline Keepers, but
Yeah, I suppose that could be a thing.
yeah,
I suppose. I mean, my feelings on the format are pretty much. I agree with Jerry, and I think we all kind of agree that things
Yeah.
will change eventually. Just from a ramp standpoint, because I feel like that's what I'm gonna be playing for. I mean, until the new base set comes out or until something else changes, I'll be playing ramp for a while. I think like one of the nice things about ramp is that it can change itself and evolve depending on how the format goes. Like if people do jump on like the red white humans bandwagon for God knows what reason,
for no
then
reason.
then you can just jam like a bunch of Inferno Titans and it'll be correct. Whereas like right now, if people are like, playing like a bunch of Delvers or like people are playing like a bunch of like Sun Titan decks, then you can jam like a bunch of Devil's Plays and like Karns and Beast Withins and that sort of thing. But like if the format gets more aggressive, then you go back to having 8 Titans or something like that. So from that standpoint, I think that Ramp is actually one of the more flexible decks available to people in the format. But I mean, things are going to change.
I like that you say that when it's like ramp is like 36 mana sources, 4 Primeval Titans, 6 sweepers, and then you have like 6 flex slots or whatever. You're like, yeah,
Whatever.
Ramp
You
can
can
just
change
it can just adapt to beat whatever.
You
can
just-
change
Yeah,
those 6
you're like a
cards.
transformer. Like you transform into a tape recorder. It's delightful. One
Except
thing.
it's just like the arm that's transformed.
Yeah.
That's it. No, I mean, you are right though. Like I agree with you, but it is just funny that that deck has like 45 cards that are set in stone.
One thing I really want to address, because this really pisses me off, and people have been saying this about Magic the Gathering for like 8
Tell me
years,
more.
is this thing in chat. And I shouldn't pick on specific things in chat, but just this general concept. People are like, well, Matt Costa is a really good player, and he's done really well with Delver, so he really clearly knows all those numbers must be correct. Like,
He didn't test for this tournament
I'm
at all.
sorry, you can't. That's not how Magic works. That's not. You don't.
I'm like 100% on that he didn't test for
You
this.
you
tournament at
can't
all.
be a good player, and that magically confers the ability to psychically predict what the exact number of every single card in your main deck is. That's not how it works.
All right, so here's the thing. There are people like Adam Yurchik and Brad Nelson's brother Corey Baumeister who play like actually flawless, but when you ask them to explain something to you, they're just idiots.
Mhm.
Can't
It's
form
so
2 sentences.
That is an excellent description of your chick. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So you put a deck in front of him, and if he knows the matchup, he's gonna play perfect. But even like when he goes to sideboard or whatever, he just like does ridiculous things, like because he doesn't know what he's doing. But for some reason, these people play really well. They just have like an intuitive understanding of the game. And I think someone like Costa, who's done really well with Delver, might not necessarily be the best tuner. Like he had a Day of Judgment in his sideboard, and a Consecrated Sphinx, like all these awful cards. Like I don't trust him to build my Delver deck, but like if I need to phone a friend about like whether I should keep my Ponder or ship it or whatever, like I'm calling him.
That is an excellent description. But yeah, like my overarching point was just you can't just look at someone and be like, well, look, the name tag says Matt Costa, so all these numbers are correct. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you
Like,
can't do that.
How good of a player he is has nothing to do with how good at designing decks he is and stuff.
I mean, kind of on the Costa topic, since he is the Delver player, I guess we can kind of wrap up standard. I mean, because we're definitely not going to talk about these shitty human decks. Where do you guys think? God, I love making fun of humans. Those lists are just bad. Where do you guys think that Delver goes in the coming weeks? Like, I know Jerry, you're always tinkering around with like, I don't know. Well, I mean, are the pure like lingering spirits or lingering
Oh,
souls
yeah.
plus like the captain? Like, where do you think the deck goes to now?
Well, the token version is great against the mid-rangey, crappy decks that like the Titan decks beat up on. So, like, presumably I can't keep going down that path. You know, it's just not going to work out. I'm going to run into a bunch of like Whip Flares, Inferno Titans, and Sun Titans and stuff and just get crushed. So I think you need to be more aggressive. You can't really rely on Mana Leak to beat all the counter spells and stuff. So you probably need like Spectral Flight, Mutagenic Growth, stuff like that. But those cards are good against Wolf Run and not good against Solar Flare, and I just think like the Solar Flare matchup's just terrible. Like if you can't counter their Sun Titan, you're just dead.
One thing I wanted to touch on really briefly, it doesn't super matter, but I know Random Drooler, who is someone I straight up do not know who he is, but I know he
That's
plays a
Steve, man.
I know he plays a ton and wins a fair bit, so like I'm fairly sure he's competent. Won the last Moto PTQ with Ramp against
Yeah.
Ship It Hala, playing a bizarre looking Delver list like Souls and Geist and Honors and stuff. So it's not like super relevant because there was no Avacyn Restored, so like it's not the same format. But like since it looks like a fairly similar format so far, it's somewhat relevant.
Was that was Steve Man you said, Jerry?
Yeah.
Just like a different account name?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Was
is
he-
is that the Mighty S Man?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, man.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
He's
okay.
from-
All right.
He's friends with Cuvier. Did he have Glimmer Post in his deck too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
It's the same list. Like,
I'm friends
Okay.
with him on Facebook, and he was bitching about how, like, Cuvalier's, you know, is getting credit for Glimmer Post, or now Cedric's getting credit for Glimmer Post, and he played it like 2 months ago or whatever.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
well,
just like-
Travis Wu's the person who thought of it, so like
Whoa,
whatever.
whoa, you guys! Someone thought to put Glimmer Post in a deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
And now I want the credit. I did it at Pro Tour Philly.
Yeah, like
I-
if everyone was playing in a Pro Tour Philly, Travis Wu sent Corbett. Travis Wu top aided States with it in his ramp deck, and then Corbett Gray top aided Star City Vegas with 4 of them in his deck, and like Mirror Battle Sphere and Palladium Mirror. So, who gives a shit? Like,
it's an entire ball of mirror. I don't think you understand. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we talked about this like a month ago, and we were like, yeah, it's been around for a while. I don't think you at any point have claimed credit for it. Said so. Like, I don't know. Like, list has been around.
yeah, my whole entire article, the article that I wrote about the deck was like, God, John Cuvier is a genius, and I'm stupid, and I picked up the deck and got 4th place, and I'm really dumb, and I got 4th, so you guys might want to like pay attention to the deck, because I don't know how to play Ramp, even though it's like the easiest deck to play, I don't know how to play it, and I got 4th very easily, so that was the entire point of the article.
You should write more.
Yeah,
I got an article coming out on Wednesday.
All right, good.
I enjoy Cedric's writing. I think that was why I first like stalked him down on the internet and was like, I enjoyed your article. And he was like, who the fuck are you? Like, I haven't met you for how long? Anyway, I feel like we should talk about the Legacy top 8 because I saw that they were claiming they had 8 different archetypes in the top 8. They actually only had 7. If you're a grumpy old man like me, like I don't believe that putting Tarmogoyf in your Delver deck makes it a different deck. But like,
Functionally, they're very different decks.
are they okay? The important part is that Legacy players are in fact all holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
I agree with that.
Because there are 8 different archetypes in the top 8, and though I think that joke is funny, I think it's awesome. I think Legacy's sweet, and like it's sick that Legacy's like that, and I think it will honestly probably always be like that. So yeah, thumbs up. Like that's sweet. I don't really have anything to say about those archetypes. Like they're the same archetypes we talk about every single week when Legacy comes up, and people come up and. Like the Birthing Pod deck with four Veteran Explorers is kind of sick, but like basically they're the same decks. But like it's just awesome that it's diverse like that, and Legacy seems sweet.
I want to hear Cedric rant about the Goblins list. Can we do that, Cedric?
Oh, I didn't-
I would love to.
I
Thank
didn't
you for
even
starting
see the
this.
Goblins list. All right, go
All
ahead.
right.
Oh yeah, there's
Wolf
the
Blaze.
Goblins list.
It's really bad.
Okay.
It's horrifically bad, but I'll go over why it's bad. I don't know in what world the 3-gem Palm Incinerators is correct. So
Is
that
it
was
one
number 1.
populated by Delver of Secrets?
Yeah, three Goblin Pile Drivers is very bad. I don't like War Marshal unless there's a lot of zoo in the formats. So I don't think that that's very good.
There's like Nimble Mongoose, right?
I mean, there is Nimble Mongoose, so I mean there is that, but I don't really care for it.
Man, he has
it
3
seems
Mog
fine
War
versus
Marshals?
Rug Delver to
Holy
block like
crap.
Glyph for a turn or two.
It's okay. I mean, I don't like it or hate it. Like I typically go to War Marshal when like a deck like Zoo is really prevalent. I mean, I could be underranking it against how good it is against Rug because they have Mongoose and Goyf.
It's been pretty good versus me. Like I played against Ben Hayes randomly in a 2-man, and like I had 4 War Marshals in my deck, and he said he felt like he could never beat that card without a Delver, and then I just had to kill his Delvers.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that. Like, the Rug deck is basically a Zoo deck in that they're trying to attack you with their crappy green guys. And, you know, instead of, like, more loam lines and stuff, they just have cantrips. So they're going to find a Nimble Mongoose and a Goyf, and you can kill all the Delvers. So I think you just need time to set up.
Okay. I think everyone knows my opinion on Cavern Souls and Goblins, which is not a good one. Also,
He cut a port for one.
I see 3 Rashid imports,
Yeah.
and that makes me very upset.
Look, maybe he only owned 3.
That could be a thing. That could be true.
That is, like, people laugh, but that is a real Legacy event thing. Like, that
That's
is
a
a
real
staple
thing.
of the Legacy format.
As far as I know, Pat Node's, like, an actual Legacy dude. Like, his Goblin deck was all foil.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've seen his
Oh.
name before, so I don't
So
think
he
it was
just
because...
misbuilt his deck.
One
Well,
of the-
yeah, sure.
One of the biggest offenses to me in like the Goblins deck, like you guys, like people can disagree with me on like if you should play Lackey, if you should not play Lackey, like if you should play War Marshal or not. I haven't played Goblins for a couple months, so I don't know how good War Marshal is against Rug, or like if Scrapper's good or not. But like every Goblin deck should have a Warp Bogart Auntie in it right now, just so that you can like go long or like exhaust your opponent and just matron for it and put it in play, and then you get to recoup all your advantage. Like it's one slot, and a lot of these cards are pretty bad in the deck list, so they should definitely have at least one of those. That should be like a stock thing in all Goblins decks right now. Agree or disagree?
That seems fine to me. I also wouldn't mind, like, more Tarfires and less Weirdings.
I have a 2/2 Tarfire Weirding split, and then
Yeah,
I board.
that's what I was thinking too, actually.
I board the third Weirding a lot, but it depends on how many parishes I'm playing. And like he has 2 Pyrokinesis in his sideboard, and that seems very bad because there's not any decks that it's really good against.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to lead with Mother Runes. Like, you need to kill that. You need to 1-for-1 that on the spot. It's not like they're going to play, like, a Dryad Arbor, a Noble Hierarch, and then a Mother of Runes. You know, that's not the order in which they play their spells.
And kill them all. Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really glad to see a Goblin deck top-aided. That made me really happy. I'm not, like, terribly surprised that it top-aided, and, like, I don't think this deck list is very good. So that means that there's probably some room for improvement, and then it can continue to do better. I'm also really surprised he didn't have any Fanatics in his deck, but whatever.
And a Tarfire.
Fnatic's still good.
I think Fanatic's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's its name.
It was when damage stacked, at least.
Yeah.
It's still fine. Come on.
I mean, it all...
But yeah, that's my opinion
Yeah.
on that. I'll let you guys talk about the other Legacy decks because I don't really know that much. I mean, I do, but I don't really have any like concrete opinions about the other decks, other than I think like a lot of them are bad, like Death and Taxes. So I'll let Jarvis and Steven and Jerry, you guys talk about it.
Well, what happened to Temporal Mastery?
Oh,
It sucks.
The same thing that everyone who, like, has played Magic for more than 5 years knew was going to happen to it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
that
I
thing?
thought it was supposed to be the card that got Brainstorm banned.
I mean, okay.
no, you're thinking of Thunderous Wrath, actually. That's the one.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
That card seems fine.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm-
Is there a single miracle card in this top 8? Is there one somewhere?
Shields
Dave
has one.
Yeah.
One Thunderous
Yeah.
Wrath, and he said it was bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, like,
That's
isn't...
disappointing.
Maybe this isn't the default reaction for everyone else, but my reaction is, like, they release cards like that, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably terrible, but maybe someone will show me I'm wrong in one of the older formats. So, like, I am not at all surprised that it was, in fact, probably terrible, and someone did not show me I was wrong. Like, I don't know. And maybe, like, 3 months from now, someone will show up with a sweet Miracle Brew, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that's what you do with it. But, like, every single time a set comes out, people are like, this card is going to do this completely ridiculous thing, and you're like, no, that's not. Like, no. Yes, I will sell you Circu for $20. Like, no,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah,
going to happen. Like this happens every single set, and people who have played Magic for a long time know this. So yeah, no, I don't think anyone here is surprised.
I personally am not surprised, but some people may be. What do you think of this? Do you think like this pod deck is any good, or like Agrolome is situated well right now, or anything like that?
Agrolome's fine. I tried some different Veteran Explorer decks for GP Indy, and if you didn't like activate an Explorer, you just could never beat Rug.
Okay.
Like the games where I got to sack my Explorer were like 60-40, and then I was getting annihilated every other game.
That sounds
So-
reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know how this guy did well. Like against goblins, he actually attacked with his Veteran Explorer into a lackey, and obviously the goblin guy just snap blocks, like untap plays a ringleader. But like the
Oh,
pod guy,
Jesus.
pod guy goes on to win the game because he plays like Deed into Grave Titan or something. So it's like good for you. But
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't personally watching the event. People were saying really mean things in my stream chat, like while I was streaming. They were like, "I came over here because I just came back from vomiting after I was watching the Star City event," and it, like, so yeah.
no, I don't know. It was funny. Like Veteran Explorer is a really powerful card, but you only get to play 4 of them, and Zenith is not a good enough thing. And I guess this guy has 3 Zeniths. That's probably close to correct.
How do you feel
You
about
think
this
it-
Loam
oh.
deck?
I don't know, Loam's really mopey.
This list in particular seems really weird. It's like 3 Crusher, 4 Bob, 2 Ooze, 2 Goyf.
Yeah, 1 Liliana. Why not?
But every single Legacy deck in
I
the
love
universe
the
looks like
Liliana.
that.
The Liliana is my favorite part of this list.
Like someone just
I have
sneezed
no
on the
idea
numbers.
What's going on?
Well,
I was
sometimes
reading
you
and
just
I was
wanna
like,
bump your
it's
Charter
Agroloam.
points.
Of course, Agroloam. Liliana of the Veil. It's like it was transported from another format into this deck list.
Maybe it's come back in time to try and save the deck, and like maybe that's why it won.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah.
What about this elf deck with Living Wish and no sideboard?
Like, is he running the 15 island sideboard? Because I know people who have done that. Like, they just got to the tournament and they were like, "Oh shit, I don't have a side, 15 islands. Like, that's what I'm doing." Like, does he have cards in his board?
No, he has Living Wish and like 9 targets for it. So he has 6 actual sideboard cards.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen this list before.
I mean, we're just all in on like turn 2ing them. Is that correct? That what we're doing?
I don't think so.
I
Like
guess.
you've cut cards out of your deck to make it capable to turn to them by adding Living Wish, I think. So
It's been a really long time since I actually knew anything about this format, so
He
I
does,
like-
he does
Go
have
ahead.
4 Summoners packs, but he also has like 13 land. I mean, that seems absurd.
but Living Wish gets his sideboard guy's cradle.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
true.
I mean, he doesn't have Earthcraft. I don't know why he thinks he can only play 13 land.
Is Earthcraft even legal?
No, of course not.
Okay. That's...
Idiot.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But like, I remember the old Moto Classic list or whatever had 13 land and Earthcraft, but it's like you can't really do that. I don't know.
This
But
reminds
he can't
me.
Living Wish for his Emerald Pool. So
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's very, very necessary.
He doesn't have to play it main deck now. So what do you think about that?
And he can Living Wish for a Fairy Macabre and
Yep. Take that,
and a
Dredge.
Phyrexian Revoker. Yeah, so his match in top 4 against the Loam deck, he like wins game 1, which I didn't see. Presumably he just got like a reasonable draw. And then like game 2, he mulled the 4, probably searching for lands. And game 3, he kept a 1-lander, played 2 Nettle Sentinels, and the guy played Seismic Assault and killed all of his stuff. And then he's like, aha, second land Elvish Visionary. And then the guy's like, all right, Loam, dredge a bunch, do some stuff. And then he's like, well, Living Wish for Phyrexian Revoker. And then the guy killed his Revoker and he died. It's just like, what are you doing? cut those Living
Should've got
Wishes
the
for
cradle.
forests.
No,
Yeah,
we're going.
yeah.
We're going through the back door to shut off that seismic assault. It's gonna take a
Like,
second.
your living witch stuff doesn't even do anything.
Also, I remember this classic Elves list in question. Peebles had 3 forests in his board for smallpox decks.
Yeah,
Because he just wanted to cast all of his spells after
exactly.
getting all of his creatures killed.
At least he was smart enough to realize that in some matchups you wanted more lands.
All I remember with these elves decks is that Sashiro Elves Vanguard deck that killed on like turn 1.5 when extended Vanguard
It
was
was
in the
Oh.
turn
format.
2.
I mean, sure. I don't know. It was the
That
one
was
where
good form.
the one where I top aided an event and then accidentally named birds in game one. It was like, oh, I can't win. That was that's an awkward game. Yeah, but elves is a deck.
I also, this guy got a feature on his rug deck that had 3 guided passages in it.
Oh yeah, that list. Yeah, Ian was really happy about that list. Our
So
conversation.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
played, I played guided passage when I was like 13, because like I thought it was awesome. And then every time I guided passage, they gave me another guided passage,
Yeah,
a bird of paradise,
that's
and
correct.
a land.
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing?
Going infinite.
Well, like for those of you listening at home who do not know what guided passage does, literally it is red, green, blue. Search your library for a guided passage, a bird of paradise, and a forest, and put it into your hand. That is what it does. And
So the best part is like, so during the tournament when I'm playing this guided passage deck when I'm like 13, so I thought I broke it or whatever, and then like the first smart person I played against was like, yeah, here's these 3 cards, moron, and I'm like, oh wow, this is bad. I realized,
You give me a flame tongue, a fire ice, and a treetop village.
yeah, and I realized the only way that I could win every time I cast guided passage was just to ramp into Urza's Rage with kicker. So that was the plan every time I drew guided passage was to do nothing, get a bunch of lands out of my deck, like act like that's what I wanted to happen, and then kick a rage at them twice. That's it. It's horrible. It's so bad.
That's a sweet deck, man. Guided
Yeah, it
passage.
doesn't work. It doesn't work the way you want it to, Benjamin Green. I have bad news for you.
Guided passage is a combo with Mindslaver, and I'm sorry that you can't see it. Like,
Ah, missed it. Missed it.
okay. I think we've done enough Legacy. The problem with Legacy, like from our perspective, is that it just doesn't really change. Like the metagame changes, but the decks are all like the same decks that have been around for like 7 years. Which is sick.
I have a question about Legacy. Here's a question for you all. If Legacy was like a real format that real people played, like there was a Pro
Well, it
Tour
has been.
Legacy.
There were GPs. Like this has existed.
I'll
Yeah,
I
but
don't
for the
believe
most
you.
part, people are like, oh, I'll just play whatever brainstorm deck
Yeah.
is the coolest. You know, people are
Um,
like trying to kill people on turn 2 and stuff.
If it was like a real format for like 3 months, Legacy was the format that the best Magic players played. Would these archetypes still exist, or would we see like a 3-deck metagame like you see in Standard?
I think there would be more than 3 decks, but I think well over half of the decks that people play in Legacy would not be in existence. Like people would not
Yeah.
play goblins, for example. Sorry, Jarvis and Cedric.
Yeah,
What
I
about
play-
me?
would play-
I like a
I'd play
good goblin.
every tournament, and I'd be so happy doing it. I think that, like, I think there would be like 2 or 3 like best decks, but I still think that you would get like this gigantic variation of decks because if like Legacy was like a PTQ format, which it sounds like that's kind of what like you're asking, then like these psychopaths that come out of the woodwork for the Star City tournaments would come out of the woodwork for the BTQs with their
Yeah,
homebrews. So I think that it would still be like a very diverse format because like people would play like the best deck or whatever and they lose like some maniac playing Death and Taxes and be like, how can you play that deck? It's not a deck. My tier 1 deck beats all the tier 1 decks. And the guy's like, look, man, I just went upstairs to my attic, grabbed my Death and Taxes deck, and
Yeah.
now I'm here beating you. That's why this format is great. So
I can't
think
see anyone ever losing to that deck.
Death and Taxes,
Yeah.
and yet there's a person here in 8th place. That means he probably beat 6 people or something. I
I'm
don't know.
pretty sure like he had a Jit, and the dude played a Pride Mage, and the guy like ticked his Vial up to 3, attacked, and the guy's like, "Oh, now I'll kill your Jit," and he's like, "Oh, Violent Flicker Wisp." Like I think that actually happened.
Dude, you gotta like instance. You can't play the main phase. I don't know how long you've been playing Magic the Gathering, but you can just wait until your opponent's turn to do that shit, and
Yeah,
then
exactly. End
yeah,
of turn Fanatic you and all that.
yeah. Um, that's one of my favorite things personally. When someone just like they think a deck is bad, so they're just like, so I won't sideboard cards for it because it's bad and no one should play it. And like people just show up and play against you, and you're like, this deck doesn't exist. You're just like yelling at the guy. You're like, your deck isn't real. You're not here. This isn't happening. Like it just like, sorry, you still have to play them. Like,
What are you doing with that Death Cloud deck and extended, you freak?
god damn
I
it,
don't know.
Reed.
I don't know. Death Cloud for 3. Does that resolve? All of your stuff is dead. Your
Yeah.
turn.
I don't know. The thing about that Pride Mage thing is that like that guy's gonna be like, "Oh, my Death and Taxes deck is so tricksy. It's so awesome. I just totally got this guy. I'm gonna play it in the next tournament 'cause it's so good."
Except
And
a real player would just kill it on his turn.
Yeah.
right, but like, how many end bosses are in these tournaments? You know, not that many.
Yeah.
But that's good because the legacy people get to be happy.
Exactly,
So-
and that's perfect. It's great for the game. Like they keep coming to these tournaments, and then they
They're
pay
having
Cedric.
fun.
They pay Cedric to write articles.
That's right, they do. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Garrett Russa, with your Death and Taxes deck, and Paul Ewenstein with your Pod Rock deck. Times are tough right now for me, so you guys are making it so that I can eat. I appreciate it.
Putting clothes on Sed's back.
Put this jersey on my back. Thanks.
Yeah. So, should we segue to PT Barcelona? Is that a thing we should do?
Let's do it.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
Because it's coming up, like, it's going to happen before our next Monday, right? Like, it's this upcoming weekend?
It is
Yep.
this weekend.
Yeah. So, sometime between now and our next podcast, there will be a Pro Tour, and someone will be a champion. So as the two people, 2.5 maybe, who know what's going on, can you guys just sort of give us a broad overview of what is going to be happening in the block constructed format? Jarvis and Jerry and possibly Cedric. I mean, I guess we'll go to Jarvis first since Jarvis never says anything. Jarvis,
Yeah.
say the things.
Well, I don't want to say too much, obviously, but if you
Don't
look
worry,
at
I
the
will.
Yeah, I think there's no danger of that. So you
I'm
can.
going to ruin all of the things. So go ahead, Jarvis.
uh, like before before Avacyn Restored came out, if you looked at the block dailies, they were basically all dominated by white red, black green red, and self mill decks essentially. And I think the easiest deck for people to pick up that has a reasonable chance of winning is white red, because it's just like it's relatively easy to play and tune, and you're not going to have like a completely shitty list of it.
Well, they probably will, but they'll still probably win.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I mean, okay, so what I mean is I don't feel like they'll change it too much, which is good and bad simultaneously.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think you're right about the pillars. It's just like Champion of the Parish, Hunt Master, and Mulch. Like those are the 3 strategies.
Mulch is too powerful.
Yeah, it really is. It puts 4 cards in your graveyard. It's sweet. If someone has a good Mulch deck list, they should send it to me. I don't care what it does. But if it casts,
Such scum. Look at you.
don't give it to Jarvis though, because he's on my team.
You lazy piece of shit.
No, I mean I have a deck that I like that is 40% against all the good decks, and no one else on my team likes it. It does nothing, so I'll probably play it.
Oh, so it looks like you're ready to go for another PT.
Yep, exactly. Another 132nd place or whatever.
That's a nice. That's a
Yeah.
nice.
Add that to the resume. No, I mean
Um,
format's kind of boring because champion's too good and nothing really kills it.
Yeah, I've done some testing because a lot of people actually from up here in the Northwest qualified. So I've been looking at some decks for my friends and that sort of thing, half-heartedly while studying insurance. But yeah, I think I agree with like the pillars of the format being like champion and Hellrider, like mulch, some sort of graveyard deck because there's not like a card like Leyline of the Void to punish them. And then I'm of the opinion that Huntmaster isn't that good of a card, and I need someone to explain to me why it is that good of a card in block.
It's not. It doesn't kill anything.
Yeah, I think it's actually just like very bad, and people going out of their way to play it are like stupid because it's just 2/2/2s. But like people are like it's like Kitchen Finks, but like it's nowhere near as good as Kitchen Finks, in my opinion. So I think like the pillars of the format are like white, red, psycho, aggro, and you have to be able to stop them, and basically you have to stop yourself from being killed by like 5 Hellrider triggers, because like that's the best card in their deck besides champion, and then like some mulch deck, and I'm sure like someone's gonna play some sort of control deck. I don't really think that control decks will be good for the tournament.
Can we make
What?
like a Japanese joke about that one from the last block PT with like all the Mycosynth Wellsprings and stuff? Can we do
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's gonna be a deck like that. Like those Japanese guys, when they printed the Darksteel ingot that like removes a card from the graveyard, they had to be so happy.
Well, it's just like all the way back since like this probably happened before Champions Block, but they were playing like Heartbeat of Spring and like Blue Myojin and stuff in their gifts deck, and like this
God,
is not a new thing. This thing where you play a
No
million
shame.
lands.
It's no shame, man.
Yeah.
Kenji
But, like-
got second in the Pro Tour, I'm sure because his deck was good and not because he was insane.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to
Right.
do with Kenji. Was Kenji the one who won because Bubble Tape didn't know how spells worked? Or was that...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Very good.
Kid.
Yeah.
What happened to that kid?
Shockingly,
reality.
he was not a long-term, like, ringer, as it happens.
I feel like he went to the next pro tour and then found out he wasn't qualified for it.
Yeah,
Is that true?
that actually
Can
did
someone
happen.
confirm that? Oh my
That
god,
did happen.
yes.
Wait, that happened?
Yes. He like passed on one PT, then showed up to the next one, and he was informed he wasn't queued, then just went home.
That's impressive. I had no
And
idea.
then never played Magic again.
I mean,
What's worse? What's worse? That or the guy who went to Pro Tour Honolulu to try to grind in and then was notified that there were no grinders?
Yeah.
That
well, I mean, where was the PT that B-Tape went to? I feel
don't
like
remember.
I feel like if it was anywhere but Honolulu, it was probably worse. Like at least the dude who tried to grind in was in Honolulu.
You think that guy could have any fun though?
Well,
There's no way.
I
He'd
don't
be
know.
so sad.
How stupid would you feel?
I mean, how stupid do I feel on a regular basis? Like,
I
there's
mean,
a
if you're
there's a
ignorant
threshold.
enough to go to Hawaii to try and LCQ in, like you got to be pretty ignorant already. I don't think he's feeling stupid about himself. He's probably not very self-aware.
I guess just that's true.
I don't know. The one thing I will say is I think the line for how much success in life you have to like not care about a bunch of Magic players laughing at you is fairly low. Like, if he has any real job, Bubble Tape is probably just like, yeah, joke's on you. Like, so
But what are the odds that he does? 'Cause it's
not good, but like,
Hard to say if he does or does not.
Ryan
I think the
Samara,
black
that's his
format-
name, right?
yeah,
What's that? Yeah,
yeah,
Ryan
yeah, that's right.
Ryan, send me a Facebook message or something if you're watching this, and let me know what you've been up to. I'm curious.
That's good. Yeah. So, does anyone have anything fascinating to say about like triple Avacyn Restored Limited, like AAA? Is that what you would call it? Because
Yeah.
that's 50% of the format, right? Last week we determined that we thought that would be like less explored than block constructed. Or that was our guess. Like, I don't know, what is...
I think we thought that draft was going to be more explored because people are lazy when it comes to building decks.
Oh, really? Did we? Okay, I don't know. I don't know what we thought. I don't know what we think right now, but like, does anyone have any fascinating insight into the new drafting format? Like,
I just want to know, and I'm going to ask Jarvis because I'm going to assume that he's played. Was like Tim's theory on like white being the best color right, or is like blue white insane, or go?
White is not the best color. I know I'm not Asian or anything, but I'll answer that one.
Okay.
I think I would actually agree with that. I think green is actually pretty good for the most part. Like all of the soulbound guys are pretty insane.
Is there
So,
like, go ahead.
nope, you go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, is there like some card that like you like look at like normally like wouldn't be very good that is like surprisingly good in this format or something like that?
Lumbering or a flowering lumber knot, I think.
That's the one.
Yeah, I thought it was bad, then I got attacked by 5/5s and I was informed it was not bad.
So, Cedric, this might surprise you a little bit, but I've actually done a lot of limited preparation for this tournament.
I'm not surprised
Why?
because you like to draft.
Okay, well, maybe since I haven't lived near you in like 4 years or whatever, you don't know this, but I like draft 10 times per block.
Yeah, I mean I know that, but when you get in your groove and there's a lot of people to play with up there now in Roanoke, I feel like you'd run off like 4 or 5 in a day or something. I mean, God knows you don't prepare for Reconstructed at a PT. You just play like a fun deck, like Arena in your Night of the Reliquary deck at Philly. For
Hey,
Hey,
man,
man.
example.
Reno was
that was
good.
my that was my Cloud Post
Yeah,
deck, man.
that is awesome tech.
Yeah, you're right. So is Blazing Shoal. Continue, Jerry.
No, I don't know. Like you're just like asking Jarvis and not me. I just assumed that you were like, oh, Jerry has no idea.
No, I thought you had some. Well, I talked to Jarvis last week about it because Tim had this theory that like all of the white rares are first pickable, so a lot of people are going to get themselves into white, and the white's like a really good color. So we like ran down the rares that are available in white, and they're like all first picked except for like it was debatable on Avacyn, the 8 mana Avacyn, because like we didn't know how fast or slow the format was. But like
Yeah.
we came to a consensus that like all of the white rares are first pickable. So I thought that white might be the best color, and then obviously blue white skies is always a deck in limited, so it might be very good. So
Yeah,
that's why I asked Jarvis.
we talked
Avacyn's
about
bad, by the way.
yeah, we talked about this a
All
lot, like
right.
me and MJ, where we just went through like all the cards and everything. And black has like no card that puts you into black. Basically, they have like no real first pickable rares. There's like some that are good, and then there's like a common removal spell that's good. But other than that, like no one is gonna open a card and like slam a black card. It's just not gonna happen. Whereas white has like all the insane rares, and white's actually not even that good. Like if you're just looking at the spoiler and you see like all these giant angels and like a bunch of like holes and mana curves and stuff, you're just like, oh, the format's probably really slow. Like Avacyn's probably just the best card ever. Like Gristlebrand's awesome. And like in the first draft, MJ first picked Gristlebrand, and in the next draft, Gristlebrand tabled. Like everyone figured it out after the first draft. We're just like, yeah, okay, this is not how the format goes. Like I drafted Avacyn, Gisela, and like some angelic walls and stuff, and like I 2-1'd or whatever, but my deck felt terrible. It was just like
So
not where I wanted to be at all.
can you draft like the defensive deck with like some stupid 8-drop like angel? Like is that like a thing or is that just like too hard to do?
I
No,
don't
you
think so.
can. You can, like, I think you want a 7-drop more than an 8-drop, you know? But I think there's enough, like, angelic walls, defangs, and stuff like that that you can do it. And another thing about that is, like, white is mostly a defensive color. They have no good aggressive commons.
Okay.
So, like, white is kind of pigeonholed into that role. So you just have to make it work, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah,
Jarv?
Red's the aggressive color. Like it, if you look at all of its commons, they all work pretty well together to like basically be a synergistic aggressive deck. Like Croon Striker is very good. So is Riot. Riot, the 3-drop when it attacks
2/2,
humans.
all humans get +1 so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
Riot Ringleader.
yeah, and Thatcher Revolt kind of ties the deck together as well.
Oh, I know someone who's going to be very happy to hear that.
Yeah, Thatcher's Revolt might be that card where you look at it and you're just like, oh, this card's unplayable, but it's actually awesome. Like once you learn how to draft the format.
Sure. Format good or bad?
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
fine.
nothing wrong with it. I don't think there's too much to explore. There's not like self-mill stuff that you can just like brew crazy archetypes with or whatever, but it's good.
All right.
Last question really quick. Do you think that, and it's like this is kind of a hard question to answer, I guess, but do you think that this should be a standalone set, or do you think it should be like the third draft set for the previous format?
Well, it wasn't designed to be drafted the last format, right?
Right. It was designed separately anyways, essentially
Okay,
for
so
limited.
okay, I guess that'd be a pretty tough question to answer. I don't. It's really annoying me now. They keep doing like these standalone sets, like kind of out of nowhere, like with like Rise of the Eldrazi and this one, and you don't get that many triple draft formats anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's like every other year that they do it, basically, but I think for the most part, people like drafting when it's 3 of the same pack. It's like as consistent and, they'll get used to it eventually and stuff like that. Whereas when you're drafting like Innistrad, and then Dark Ascension comes out, you're just like, oh man, like I'm so used to drafting like this old deck, but it doesn't work anymore because like I get one less pack of whatever. So I think it's kind of like dumbing it down a little bit. But I mean, for me, I just like variety. Like I would rather just draft like new sets every 2 months than having to draft the same block and like keep opening Innistrad packs and looking at stupid Bloodline Keepers and stuff,
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Actually, okay, this is the last question. There. Is there any card that you've played with or like have played against where you're just like, okay, holy shit, I can't win? Like, is there a card like that? Like, I guess like Bloodline Keeper or something that you guys have realized yet? Where you're just like, okay, this is dumb, you win.
Jarvis?
Let me. You should answer first. Let me think.
All right, I think Triumph of Ferocity was like the first card that I played against where it was like unassuming, and then I was like, oh god, I can't win. Because it's just like actually Phyrexian Arena with no drawback.
What does this card do?
It's the one where Garrick is raping Liliana.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Can't stop, won't stop.
So
yeah.
what does it do?
It's the optional
It's
like
two and a green
yeah.
enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature that is tied for the highest power, you can draw a card.
Yeah, I remember mentioning both of those, like both the green one and the black one, is like I can't evaluate this when looking at the set. Like I don't know how good it is, but if it's good, it might be way better than people think it is.
Yeah, I think the black one's actually pretty good too, but like the fact that green has like Iron Shell Beetle and Trusty Force Mage or Trusted Force Mage, whatever it's called, where they can give like bonuses to things on the cheap, that it's just always going to be active, and it seems like it should not be like tied for the highest power. It
It
seems
should
weird
just be the highest power.
Yeah, it seems weird that you both have a grizzly bear and you're triumphing or whatever. But it also just seems like too cheap for the effect. Like 3 mana for that, it is just like no drawback.
Okay.
You do have to draw green cards, but
I mean, I guess
apparently those are okay in
best colors.
this one. Yeah.
Green has a mana curve and it's pretty aggressive. So
Oh, I love it.
I think I died to Critterhoof Behemoth, but that's not exactly surprising. But I died to it on turn 6 in a sealed deck. That's pretty nice. He had the Somberwald Sage, which I think is pretty good actually.
yeah, that card's
It has to die, and there's honestly like 3 answers for it that line up well. I'm thinking of Deathwind, Pillar of Flame, Ghoulflesh, and Guise of Fire. Anything else that answers it?
Guise of Fire. That is a really
Anyway.
awesome name for a removal spell.
Basically,
Jedi Navigator is pretty insane.
oh yeah, that thing's good.
Falcon
Obviously.
Wrath Exterminator I found to be very good once I figured out what it did.
You mean you have...
Guys, last question.
Taking a mailbag on Twitter or something? What's going on?
How is so Paulo complained about like having to draw his card with Miracle in the format and how stupid it is. And I don't necessarily disagree with him, but how has Miracle played out in your experiences thus far? Like just as far as like blowout potential, do you draw your card like a fucking fag every turn? Like how pardon my language. How,
Thank you for that, Cedric.
how do you do it? Pardon me.
Cedric,
I'm sorry.
I've missed miracles on like 3 separate times, and every time I'm just like, yep, this is my punishment, and they're just like, oh no, it's fine, you can do it, this is just practice. I'm like, no, I'm never gonna learn if I don't do it.
Yeah.
And then the next turn I'm just like, yep, draw my card. Oh yeah, another miracle. So I basically don't want to play with miracles in the Pro Tour. Like, I don't want them in my constructed deck. I don't want to draft.
Hey,
I-
ladies
I-
and gentlemen, Jerry's just gonna pass every bonfire of the dam
Do
he
not.
opens.
No, me
No, I don't think I'll do that, but I think I'm fine just casting it at XX red.
Still got him.
I've just taken to pretending that every draw is a Delver trigger.
I can't do that though, because there's not a Delver in play. I'm not an idiot. I can't.
Perhaps you have to reverse train yourself.
I can't.
Pretend you're an idiot.
I want to play fast because I don't want to get draws. You know, I don't want to pause for 10 seconds to like look at my top card and just do all this useless crap. I'd rather pay 6 mana for a Banishing Stroke and just save time.
Look, I got places to be. Sometimes my cards cost more. Okay, like just
Exactly,
deal
that's
with it.
fine.
Like.
I feel like we have a story coming from the Pro Tour. For sure.
Well, guys, I'm X and 7, but I should have been X and 2.
I'd be 5 and 2, but I keep paying full price
Yeah.
for this upheaval. I don't know why. I keep forgetting. I don't even know why upheaval's in my deck. Just forget it.
Seems like my opponent's cards are so much better than mine. They all do the same thing, but theirs are so much cheaper. Like it's just, I don't
No
understand.
sense.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have like Bonfire in my draft deck or whatever, am I supposed to like look at the top card every single goddamn turn? Like, there's no way.
I don't know. I mean, that's what they're encouraging. I feel like I brought up the point, I think it was last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, just of like bluff potential and all of this stuff that you can do with it. But like, I thought about it more as the week passed, and it's like people are just kind of like you, which is not to say that that's an insult, but it is.
No, that's
But
fine,
they're
man.
just like, they're just like lazy. They're just going to be like, forget it. This is dumb. I'm not going to draw my card like this every turn. I just want to finish my match, or I don't want to expend mental energy doing this. I'm trying to trick you. Just like stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not Bill Stark. I'm not gonna like set a cheeseburger down in front of you, hoping you're hungry, and that you get distracted and play bad.
Wait, what? When did this
Yeah,
happen?
Ooh, tell it.
Bill Stark actually does this stuff where instead of trying to get better at magic because he's terrible, instead he tries to think of like these Bush League Jedi mind tricks where he's like, oh, well, it's the top 8 of this PTQ, and I can't win it on my own terms, so I'm going to have my friend bring me a cheeseburger, and I'm going to set it down, and my opponent's going to be hungry, and he's going to be so distracted because his body's natural reaction is to, like, think about this food and stuff that he's not going to be able to concentrate, and he's going to mess up, and I'm going to win because of it. Like, he actually wrote an article or something about this and about how genius he thought he was.
How many time walks
That's-
was that cheeseburger?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, probably -5, you know? Like, I'm sure Bill Stark, like, chucked the game every other turn because he was thinking about the cheeseburger himself. And, like,
In,
That's so
in the-
good.
In the tournament that the GP
and
that
people
Bill Stark top
wonder why I
aided,
don't like Bill Stark.
in the GP that Bill Stark top aided against me, round 6, he played, and for those of you guys who don't know, he was playing Suicide Black and Legacy. He played a Dark Ritual. I didn't know what he was playing. He played a Dark Ritual, got out a die, set it to 1
Yes.
for his storm count, and then played a Sarcomancy and a 2-drop. And I literally looked at him.
Did
I'm
did
like,
you say storm is 3? I hope you
I'm
did.
like, what is wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you?
That's so
Storm is
good.
not in his range.
So yeah,
But
I don't
he's
dislike
a
Bill
joke.
as much as Jerry does. I'm actually pretty indifferent on Bill, but like he's the guy who's gonna put the counter on top of his deck to remember to pay for his pact and get the dice out and cast Dark Ritual Storm when he's playing mono blue, or just I don't know. That's just who he is.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with putting a die on top of your deck.
I felt sort of weird about that. Like, I remember when they changed the rules so that you could put a die on top of your deck, like with the packs and stuff, and I felt like it's clearly a plus EV decision. Like, there's no downside to putting a die on top of your library, but I felt like as a player who has some level of self-respect, I felt like I should be able to remember.
Yeah, I feel the same way, where it's like, well, if I forget, I'm just a moron and kind of deserve to lose anyway.
Yes. That's obviously the camp that I'm in,
Yeah.
without question.
I think there was only one time where I forgot to pay it for a pact, and it was against Matt Boccio at GP Montreal.
I disagree with all you guys. I think you're dumb.
I mean, it's a
Um,
strictly negative EV decision, right? Like, not putting a die on top of your library
Yes.
is just being an idiot. Like, I
And
understand that.
I don't think
your
I don't think so,
brain
because it's like
to-
you're never gonna train yourself to play tight in those situations if you always need the reminder. Like it becomes a crutch. And then what happens when you like crack a fetch and don't remember to put a die on top of your deck or whatever? Like then you're just gonna forget because you're not used to it being there.
That's sort of true.
No. Like,
No.
also
Dude,
not
yeah,
writing on
Steven,
your
explain.
opponent's hand when you direct them or something. Like, you're expecting your brain to keep in its short-term memory all the stuff that you do not need to be using your short-term memory for, when you could be using it for reading your opponent or thinking about ranges or thinking about lines or all sorts of other stuff that's just going to be way more valuable to you in the match.
Right, but can't I just add this one thing where like I have to pay for my packs while you do that, not like stop looking at them
Dude.
and then put a die on your deck?
Dude.
Like it seems like
Okay,
that makes your
go
concentration
for a
more.
walk. Go for a walk with one of your friends and like ask him to like do a multiplication problem in his head and watch him stop walking immediately. Your brain your brain cannot do all of these things as much as you might think it can. You actually do have a limit to how much stuff you can juggle. And you're seriously hurting your capacity.
Okay, well, I feel like you should write an article on this because if this type of stuff is actually true and I don't know it, then I kind of want to know it. So you should do some work.
It's Kahneman did it already, and then he got like a PhD. No, that's not the one. PhDs are pretty small. He got like the Nobel Prize in economics,
Right, but relay this to Magic.
socials. All right.
I think that like if they make it a rule, like now that it's a rule, I don't have like a big issue with it. But like when they made it a rule, I thought it was stupid, just because like I didn't feel like they needed to make it a rule. But once it's a rule that you can do that, like whatever, it's fine. It's like kind of Bush League, but it's fine. Whatever. If you're stupid, you're stupid.
And I mean, I'm stupid, so.
So am I.
Yep.
I can't even play ramp correctly, and it's a no decision
Everybody's
deck.
stupid here.
So, what else do we have to talk about, Adam?
After we touched the PT, I wanted to talk about the Moto Cube because I think it's all that anyone in the entire universe has been doing.
I think I played 2 this morning.
For the last, I no longer religiously follow all of Jerry's like social media outlets. Like I'm gonna sound like a hipster Jerry fan here, but before he was a big deal, I actually paid attention. But now that everybody cares, I no longer think that's big of a deal. But like, I saw that I feel like Jerry sort of is in the same place I am, where he, or at least from the things I saw, where you just like take blue cards and then you win the game. Is that
Not quite.
not?
I have a wider range than that. I actually force mono red in like 40% of my
Well,
drafts.
when I actually play,
The cat, really?
like,
Yeah, you like the cat? Cat's
like
I hate the cat.
I'm streaming all the time when I'm playing, so I'm actually like forcing myself to play everything just because I think that's more entertaining and gives people a broader idea of what's going on. But I feel
Sure.
like if I was trying to win, my range would be fairly small, and I feel like I my specialty is like blue white do nothing. I feel like that's the deck that I'm most comfortable in, and I've drafted it with great success a number of times. I know that I refer to basically opposition, like blue-green ramp with elves, as being mono Joan ribs because I believe that is what he drafts every single time.
And then I always win.
Yes, you always win. I don't know how.
Opposition's not a very fair card.
I don't know how that compares. You said that you thought blue-green ramp was the best deck in the format. Are you talking like elf ramp or mana rock ramp or what kind of ramp?
Well, first of all, Blue Green Ramp has a name, so please call it by its name.
Oh, soggy broccoli or something like that?
Damn
broccoli. Okay.
Okay.
That is
First of all,
awful.
it has a name. Blue Green Ramp, I feel, is the best deck in the cube. if you're able to get any deck, I feel that blue-green ramp is the best deck. But I mean, there's more to like elaborate on the point because like more people have noticed that like ramp is the best deck because there are no signets. So green is the only color that really has fast mana. So green's actually just the best color in the cube. But a lot of more people are drafting ramp now, so you have to adjust accordingly.
I think there's a subset of unfair strategies that basically beat everyone, and then there are like these fair decks that seem really good that beat all the other fair decks. Like I'm sure Cedric is going to beat like every blue player and every mono red player or whatever, and then I'm going to beat every ramp player and vice versa. Like that's just how it is. But if you're drafting like a necro deck or a tinker deck, something with balance, like those decks are going to be the best by far, assuming you know how to draft. But I don't always
Channel
see tinker.
Genesis Wave sort of deck.
Yeah, I drafted that also. That was pretty sweet. Like I've only drafted green like 2 or 3 times, and I haven't felt like my decks have been very good. Like I have a lot of problems dealing with certain cards and stuff, but playing with mono red, like you don't really straight up lose to anything, and then playing with like accelerated blue decks, you don't really lose to anything.
What is the rough idea of the accelerated blue tech? Because I've seen that thrown around a bit, and I'm not totally clear on what exactly goes into that deck.
Uh, Old school, it was like Grim Monolith into Morphling, and now it's kind of like the same thing, but like you have a Tinker and a Mystical Tutor or something. Uh, Basically, I just want to draft like all the crappy signets that are in the cube.
The
There's
mana
still like
rocks.
Cold Steel Hearts,
Yep.
Everflowing Chalice.
I mean,
Worm
they're all
Power Trove,
insane,
all
yeah.
that garbage. Yeah, they're all awesome. Like green is not the only stuff with the acceleration.
Um,
And then you can just do whatever you want. Like you can cast Upheaval, you can just play Fatties, you can play Wildfires. Just like it doesn't really matter. If you have a Basalt Monolith, like you can't really lose.
um,
Yeah, a card that goes way too late.
Yeah, agreed.
yep. I
I
agree
mean,
with
there
that.
are people that play them in their sideboards and stuff. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the fast mana is always the best in cube. Always has been, always will be.
I have a little bit of a different take on it. I feel like the do really unfair things really quickly is a very powerful strategy. I feel like that deck gets absolutely stomped by true control decks, which people are both completely incapable of drafting and like also have a hard time with the good aggro decks, which people are much better at drafting. So it's not a huge concern, but like I feel like if you're on a true control deck, you just stomp the shit out of ramp decks.
It depends. I mean, getting a mana advantage on them is pretty important, and then like you still have to draft with your sideboard in mind. Like I don't really like
Yeah.
cubing with the sideboard. I think that's just kind of stupid.
Okay.
But I mean, like that's just kind of how I grew up cubing, I guess.
Yeah.
We didn't have like red blast in the cube and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you have like a deep analysis to bring in against those blue decks, and like knowing that those are tough matchups, and knowing that you have to draft cards like that, and if you draw it, you just crush them.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty important.
I mean,
I think Cube just good. Like teaches you a lot of fundamentals about Magic, and just general like matchup stuff. But it kind of sucks that like Magic now is not the same as Magic was then.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not trying to say that you can, if you're a better player and you're on the ramp deck, you can never win. But I feel like I really like drafting control decks in cube because I like drafting them and I like playing them. Like I would say that's the deck I most enjoy drafting. Like
Yeah.
blue white and blue black, like old like decks that are reminiscent of like a Psychotog deck or something like that. I'm just like I remember playing this. This was fun. And I just murder all those terrible ramp decks. Like just crush them. And like I'm not trying to say that you guys as vastly better players couldn't win, but I don't feel like that's a favorable matchup for them.
We've all been playing for a while, right? So like we all understand a lot of these matchups and stuff. So I think for the most part we're going to be beating the people that have a smaller understanding of the game and stuff. Like just something as simple as like knowing that you need to take a deep analysis over a card that's going to make your main deck is a very big deal if you want to actually win the 8-4, and I don't think a lot of people do that. So I think you drafting control, like that you're like, all right, I need to like deal with a bunch of early creatures. I need to be able to kill stuff like planeswalkers. I need good ways to draw cards and kill them and stuff like that. Like you're gonna have all those pieces in your deck.
Yeah. Like if I'm a pretty terrible Magic player in almost every single venue now, but if there's one venue where I'm actually competent, I'm fairly certain it's Cube Draft.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I have a pretty good handle on what you need to do to win with those decks. Much to the delight of people who like to scream about things that I am doing wrong in the chat of my stream. But
Yeah, like you might be making some mistakes or like, in the meantime or whatever, but you're going from point A to point B relatively well, right? No.
yeah, no, I've been running pretty hot in these most recent ones. I ran pretty bad, which was still like I think I was up tickets on the last one, but I've been running pretty good in this last one. So yeah, I mean, we're doing all right.
Good.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's all right. Can we do cube-related interesting story time? That seems like a thing that's probably worth doing. Does anyone have fascinating cube-related tales? I know that Jarvis, like the only cube-related messages I've received from Jarvis have been, I did a cube draft and died and tilted and then went to bed. Do you have any other results, Jarvis, or was that just how they all went down?
I drafted a green-white ramp deck with Channel and Genesis Wave, and that was pretty exciting.
Oh yes.
I
Has
I
anybody
threw
not
out,
done that at this point?
I don't know.
Did
I
that
mean, it
did
it
that
was the
last
first time
cube
I had
release?
drafted that deck in a while, so I
Well,
had fun
like I
doing
said,
it.
I've drafted green like 3 times and I had that once. I think
Yeah.
everyone's done it.
Genesis
Yeah.
Wave is the biggest trap. I've already heard so many stories of people like channeling Genesis Waving and then losing.
I have also done that now. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Um,
didn't
Then
lose.
you probably drafted wrong.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I did not
absolutely,
lose.
100%.
I took the card Maloku, the Clouded Mirror.
Oh yeah, you had that
I've
one
heard of
in.
this card.
You had that one in play against me. How'd that work out for you?
Yes. I placed it into play along with 14 lands, and I then won.
And then I beat you convincingly, if memory serves. But
Oh, you're talking about the Reanimator one?
yes, you did in
The
fact play
Reanimator one where
Maloku,
we're like,
have
we
it
were
in play
like,
for
turn
8
3,
turns.
reanimate giant creature, turn 4, reanimate giant creature, turn 5, reanimate giant creature, turn 16, I managed to deck you somehow.
What? I didn't
That's
deck
how
you.
that
I
game
beat you to
works.
death.
Yeah,
I
so-
last like 15 turns thanks to my 5-drop.
Played Maloku and an Oracle of Moldiah. I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
So I
nice.
like Reanimator a lot, and I like a lot of the cards that are in the Reanimator deck, but it is so hard to win with those decks.
It's really hard to win with it.
yeah.
Like, the creatures are just not very good compared to what else is in the cube,
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
They're really, really hard to win with.
They're
It's-
also
it's-
like they're sort of decks where you just sort of fundamentally flop it down and go, this is what I got. Can you beat it?
Yeah,
Like, they're
exactly.
not-
You're just shoving, like, every game.
Yeah, they're not very good interactive decks, so the fact that you probably have a better understanding of the game and play better than your opponent is just not coming in at all. You're just like, animate that on this monster. What do you got? And, yeah.
And they're like, well, I have an engineered explosives for 2, which, like,
Yeah.
shouldn't even really make my main deck, but here it is.
Well, I got a Baneslayer Angel, so you lose.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, is, like, the stuff that they're hard casting is, like, better than the stuff that you're reanimating. You jump through hoops to get this Angel of Despair to, like, kill their Tarmogoyf or something. They're like, well, I'll cast a Baneslayer. You're like, well, what the hell?
This
I
is
even put
unacceptable.
The most interesting thing that's happened to me in Cube recently, like the last few days, was I ended up drafting black-white tokens somehow. And I'm not sure how this happened.
Was that the
Yeah.
one where you DC'd
Well, not
from
a
picks
good
2 to
thing.
6?
No, I drafted Rock for the one right.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Well, the random number generators drafted Rock for me, and then I finished the draft and quickly lost round 1, I think. But yeah, I ended up with this really sick black-white tokens deck, right? And I get paired round 1 against a like 78 card deck or whatever. My opponent has timed out for deck building and whatever. So I'm playing against a 78 card deck, which is just all of his drafted cards and basic lands, and he crushes me. He gets like the turn 5 Gilded Lotus. Turn 5 Gilded Lotus just gives him every card, and like every card in the cube is awesome. So I don't know if he was even there for all 45 picks, but he had a Liliana out in play and everything, and my guys were all dying.
Sounds like your deck was really good.
My deck was
Sounds
not
very
good.
awesome. That's
But like
strange.
game 2, I curved some absurd way and killed him. I mean, the deck, I guess when you draft black-white tokens, it's just like, you know, the Sarens, the Ajanis, the Micaeus, and then like the Cloud Goat Rangers and Spectral Possessions. It's, you know,
I know
a terrible, terrible, terrible deck which occasionally attacks them for 18 on turn 4 somehow.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, I attacked for 17 on turn 4, or maybe it was turn 5, but it was not in either of those colors or with any of those cards.
Right.
So I don't know. I know Cedric's really, really pro Cloud Goat Ranger. Like,
It's a hell of a card.
yeah, like we had some conversations where he was just like, "This is my Cloud Goat Ranger, and I will knock you off the internet." That's like, okay.
I was actually
Very.
thinking about how Cloud Goat should not be in the cube because it's terrible.
That what?
I'm not even kidding. I saw it
Okay,
this morning. I
well,
was like, why is this card
We
even
can
in
just go
here?
ahead. We can just go ahead and let you know that you're wrong right now. We can just go ahead and solve that. The reason it's in the cube is because of me. Okay.
Because you live in Seattle.
Because Max McCall is the one who designs and works on the cube primarily. Max is a good friend of mine. So that's why Cloud Goat Ranger is in the cube, and it's not leaving the cube. Okay?
So he's
So
like,
start
I feel
drafting
really
and winning
bad if
it.
Cedric spent like 70 tickets and didn't win any packs. So
Okay?
I'll give him a Cloud Goat Ranger. He'll
That's-
get that
that's-
one every 3
right
drafts.
now, because I'm friends with the people who work in Seattle and work at Wizards, like Zach Hill and Max, what I'm trying to do, since Cloud Goat has passed its time, and the only way I get any satisfaction is having it in the cube, I'm trying to slide in a white sorcery speed Armageddon. I'm going to try to go and get that by them, see if they can get that
Okay.
printed for me, so I can start winning again.
Okay, a noble goal.
I figure it's tough to cast for everyone but me, so it'll be perfectly fine. And I mean, they printed Snapcast for me.
It's
so
just, it's a first pick you can lap, right? Like,
Absolutely.
all right.
So,
Do you have any sweet stories, Gerald? Have you done anything?
Like most of my stories just involve killing people, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not really doing anything too sweet. I see all these pictures that people post of like the most ridiculous board states and stuff, and it just like never comes down to that for
Well,
me.
yeah. I mean, you said you were mono red, which is, I feel like that's massively overdrafted because apparently Luis did some videos and people like where he first picked Ravenous Baboons or something, and people were just like, "I want those baboons. Those baboons can work for me." Like that is actually
Yeah.
what is happening.
It's a draft to draft thing, like it varies, but I think people, you know, kind of understand that that deck is fine and it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to force, you know, but it's just really good too.
Yeah, it's fine.
very, very good.
It has a bad matchup against sideboard cards sometimes. Like
Sometimes.
the sideboard
Depends-
cards thing really hurts it, I think.
Well, what are you worried about?
Well, there's like worship and like I saw a mono red deck get
Wall of
completely
Reverence.
blown out by worship plus enlightened tutor when I was birding a People's Draft. Like he just had Sultari Priest in his main deck and it was just like worship, and his opponent was like, okay, that's game.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
like,
worship's certainly good, but you could usually kill all their guys.
but yeah, like I've had Wall of
you need a
Reverence.
flawless answer to kill some of that stuff anyway. There's enough pro red guys.
I've had Wall of Reverence in my main deck like multiple times, and that card seems like it kills you a lot. It does cost 4 though, so
Yeah, I mean, I killed someone on turn 4 the other day with no 1-drop.
that's pretty good.
Can definitely happen. Definitely involve Fire Blast, right?
Yeah,
Fire Blast is quite a magic card.
and
Yeah.
Priest of Urabrask, which is another card I like in that deck a lot.
Really?
Bruh.
Okay.
I'm
I thought
actually-
That's what that card's doing in the cube.
I thought that card was
Yeah.
pretty bad, but okay, I'll buy
I
it.
like it in Mono a lot. I'm actually cube drafting right now. I first picked a Thran Dynamo.
Sure, seems
Oh,
reasonable.
interesting. Did you know
And-
that Phantasmal Bear is still in the cube? Because
Yeah, I
it
don't
makes people
Yes.
it makes people angry every time they see it. That's why they haven't taken it out.
Because it's like a dead card for blue. That's the only reason
Yeah,
it's in there.
because everyone
there's-
everyone literally just goes, "Why is this in the cube?"
Yeah,
That's why it's
well,
not
there's like
moving.
20 blue aggro cards that are all there trying to build a pyramid that Tradewind Rider can be at the top of, when the actual answer is that Tradewind Rider is a green card, so like, I mean,
Yeah.
This is true.
yeah.
I don't like Trade One Rider.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad, but like, it is least bad in green decks.
Eh.
Trade One Rider doesn't like you, Jarvis. How about
Yeah,
that?
how's that taste?
It's mutual.
Yeah, the two things I wanted to say were one that I completely crushed Joe and Ribs in the round. Like I saw he was in my draft. I was like, Joe and Ribs is in my draft. Then we got paired in round 1, and I destroyed him. And then 2, I managed to Birthing Pod Academy Rector yesterday on turn 5. Like I played Birthing Pod and sacked Academy Rector, and then I got opposition with the Trigger and Deranged Hermit with the Birthing Pod, and my opponent actually just got out of the game. Like
Yeah, I mean that's awesome.
that is what I am trying to do in cube drafts.
That would
So
never happen to me. Not in a million
That's
years.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Birthing Pod is my favorite card in the cube because it makes for the most fun decks, I think. Like, drafting Ramp gets old after a while. Drafting Mono Red or like Mono White with Geddons gets old after a while. But the Birthing Pod deck, just the things that can come out of your deck are just so awesome. It's so much fun to play with them.
Oh, I also had my opponent Time Spiral while I had a Consecrated Sphinx on the board, and then concede when he saw I had like 7 triggers on the stack. That was kind of funny. I'm not even sure why he conceded, honestly. Like, it's not actually like an unwinnable board state. Like, it's not like I'm gonna draw 21, but
You're also gonna
Yeah.
just like discard like 13 cards.
yeah. But he was just like he Time Spiraled. He looked at his hand. He looked at the Sphinx. He looked at the triggers. He looked at his hand, and he was just like, I've had enough of this game.
Yeah,
So
yeah, this isn't fun.
yeah. He also ran Mystical Tutor for card I can't cast while dead on board, then concede. That was a good match. So
Oops.
He wanted to show you.
yeah,
Do you think
wants
he
to show you how
misclicked or
lucky-
no?
I don't know. I mean, he was like, I have this upheaval, but I don't have a second blue source or like a third blue source. Okay, that's game. Like,
Yeah, okay. There's no way he misclicked.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Cube is fun. We did fun
Cube is
things.
fun.
I'm trying to think if anything else really fascinating happened. I can't really think of anything.
I'm
Sort of.
passing Phantasmal Bear as the last pick as we speak.
Sure.
There it is.
I mean,
There it
it's a
is,
combo. Were you aware that Phantasmal Bear is in fact always Ninja of the Deep Hours? Like, you think it is a bear, it is actually a ninja.
I've never ninja'd it.
Nice fucking popper.
Is?
Ooh, people want to know about the SCG teams, like the blue team and the black team.
Alright.
Oh,
I want to know about the SGG.
Yeah, let's hear
teams.
about it.
Gerald.
Is that a thing we're actually allowed to hear about? Like, because maybe it's
I
not.
mean, it's on the website.
it's on
Is
the
it?
internet.
I don't actually read the internet, so alright.
I think that's a lie, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to have my own squad, and it worked out worse than I thought it would, I guess. I mean, it was okay, but I think it could have been a lot better. And it was pretty big because, you know, every week someone would be like, hey man, like, can I get that handout? And I'm like, yeah. And then it was like 20 people big, and it kind of sucked. But I think our deck is okay, or the deck that most of the people is playing, and I think everyone gets along or whatever. But
It's a big team.
it is a big team, and we're all spread
How big-
out, and not a
how
lot
big
of
was
people are
the team?
testing.
How big was your team for Honolulu? Like 8 people?
I mean, I didn't really do any work for that tournament.
I mean, you put Lingering Souls in your deck.
Well, yeah, because that's
me,
a
you
very
did all the work.
obvious. That's a very obvious inclusion.
Well, to me, you did all the work then, because people weren't going to play it.
Yeah, that's because they're silly.
Oh, silly goose. Yeah, I mean, this is like, how many people is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 15 people? That's a lot of people.
For my team?
Yeah, for Team Blue.
No, it's bigger than that.
I mean, I figured there's more people that aren't listed that are like probably helping or something.
BBD is helping. He's been super awesome. Like, not even qualified, but came down basically every day. Like, drove 40 minutes just to play some block and tell us how we were stupid and stuff. So he
Okay.
helped out a lot. And then Matt Scott can't go to the
Can't
Pro
go,
Tour
right?
because he just had his kid. I think he can't go. I'm not sure, but I don't know. I'm like drafting 2 cubes simultaneously, and
Yeah. Why would you pay attention to the stream that we brought you on here for? Yeah, that's fine.
well, I've been here for like an hour and a half, and now I'm cubing.
That's
But-
fair.
Fair.
You
Yeah,
Fair.
guys
actually,
take some-
Lynn started cubing, and I'm like, no, there's no way that she's cubing, and I'm not. So,
All right,
Oh,
Jared.
she started queuing.
I have my picks. Who is going to have a breakout tournament? Who like people don't know about? Who they'll know about after this tournament, or who's like some up and comer that people should know about?
like on my team or in general?
Like on your team or qualify for the PT, like a Dave Thomas, who like not everyone knows, or some people like that. Like who's gonna like bust out like Costa style?
Probably Costa again.
Anybody
He's,
who we don't know?
he seems very good at Magic the Gathering. That's my read.
Josh Cho isn't like he's like well known like among us, but
Yeah, I mean he's good. I don't know. Like it's hard to tell. Like there's Ben Friedman and Costa
can't hear you.
and
What happened?
Jason and these people that I feel like have their game turned on like 80% of the time or whatever, and then like the other 20% of the time they're just gonna like 1-4 and like want to kill themselves. You know what I mean? So it's like hard to predict who's gonna be on their game and everything. Like
Okay, I mean sometimes you know like some ringers or whatever, like Pennick when he was coming up, who you're like, yeah, this kid's really good. Like, you know, you're gonna know who this is at the end of the tournament, something like that.
yeah, and like Shahar, me and Luis knew that he was insane when he was like 14.
Yeah, he's really, really good.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think everyone's out there now. Everyone, for the most part, knows. Anyone who actually has any semblance of fire, you know.
Okay, sure. Jarvis, is it gonna be you?
Depends on the day.
Make a name pun. Come on. No?
What?
Is
mean,
it going to be
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
was a
mean,
name.
yes.
I was hoping no one would notice.
Yes, that is my last name. Yes. Very
I
funny.
mean, is. Look, you make those jokes to me over AIM. Like, you can't pretend like you don't do it.
I don't know.
I'm not having it. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else. I mean,
No.
Jerry's cubing now, so he's
Yeah.
too good for us.
I feel like we've covered
I
it.
tried to do both, but the second cube draft was too much.
And
You're such an idiot. So, you
um,
couldn't resist for like 10 more minutes. You just had
No.
to dive in and draft a Dynamo. I understand. I've been there.
a Dynamo. My last deck had a Dynamo. My last deck was terrible, but I made the finals and then lost. So somehow, great success.
Nice humble brag.
How's that great success?
I mean, my deck was like worse than every single deck I played against. I
What they
first
give you? Some cold steel packs?
I first picked.
Basically.
I was on natural order with like backup reanimator plan and like backup ramp plan basically. Like I first picked Terrastodon and had second pick Sundering Titan. I was on like that as my threat plan, and I just didn't have any other threats. Like I had 4 to 5 real cards in my entire deck, and then if they dealt with them, I was just like was splashing gamble, and I believe I gambled unsuccessfully every single time.
That's just awesome.
Just cast the
Not
gamble,
a gambling man.
discarded the card.
I'm going to try not to break my chair again, but you splashing gamble is
See-
very good.
See, you're supposed to gamble for a life from the loam.
That was in my sideboard. I elected not to play it.
Yeah, well, you were doing it wrong.
I could have played Nostalgic Dreams and then just had insurance, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen one person cast Nostalgic Dreams in the cube.
should they be? I mean, is that
seems impossible.
yeah?
Like that's like the
Not-
one card that I have never seen anyone cast. And like this is the cube. That cube, I have a real life version of in the trunk of my car right now. Actually, it's the cube that we use up here, like to draft it like 3 times a week. And I seriously don't think in like my 7 months of drafting I've ever seen someone cast Nostalgic Dreams. And there is someone up here. I don't know if you guys know who Brian Wong is, but he only drafts the Storm deck, and I don't think he's ever cast it.
How do you even draft the Storm deck?
What?
How do you even draft the Storm deck?
It's
Well,
bad.
sometimes he doesn't have any win conditions. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it. I did it.
Drake. Okay, yeah, I forgot
Did
that
it.
you played it. That's a good story.
I mean, he's good for a 2-1 every time. Somehow, some way. He only drafts Storm because it's the only thing that's challenging for him.
Cedric, do you want
Such
to
a
tell the
mess.
story about when we played?
Yeah, sure, Jerry. I'd love to tell the Storm story. Yeah. I tried to draft a Storm deck. And then I played against Jerry. And then I cast some card drawing spells and died every game because I didn't have any way to A, generate a mana advantage, B, kill my opponent, or C, get ahead on cards.
And I played a mountain.
Yeah, going into the draft, I decided, hey, I'm going to try to draft Storm. Midway through Pack 2, I realized I didn't know how to draft Storm. So I just kept taking cards that were in previous Storm decks, which did not work. So
Oh,
then I had a Tendrils, and I was playing against Jerry, who I didn't even know was in my draft, so obviously I get paired against him round 1. It's very embarrassing. I think one of the games I went like Impulse, Frantic Search, Wheel, Concede was one of the games. And then like another game was like Grim Monolith, like Blue Spell, Red Spell, and then like I could have Tendrils them for 4 to stay alive. And I decided to save my dignity and just concede. So Storm is not really for me, but I know that it is draftable. I promise.
One thing I did want to mention is I had a show and tell deck, just sort of relevant to the thing Jerry was saying about doing unfair things. I had a deck. This deck was not actually very good, but it was a show and tell deck with Ulamog in it, which I think is the best, like one of the best show and tell targets in this cube. And I won round 1 and got paired against Hoenn round 2, and Hoenn was Bant, and his turn 1 was Mutavault, his turn 2 was Forest attack for 2, and his turn 3 was attack for 2 go. And my opening hand was Mystical, Tutor, Mind Stone, 3 Islands, Ulamog, and something. So I was just like, Mystical Tutor, Show and Tell, put this into play. And he put Solemn into play, got a Plains, and then sent my guy farming, and easily murdered me. Like, instantly demolished me. Not close.
Yeah, the creatures all suck.
Yeah.
They're just not even good.
I was like, well, he can't put swords into play. He's only got green mana. And then he just put Solemn into play and swords my guy. And yeah, I got demolished. It was pretty good.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I was playing against Matt Nass a couple of days ago. In Game 3, I thought sees him, and his hand is 1 land, Arbor Elf, Tree Speaker, and then like 2 black cards, a blue card, and the Primordial Hydra. So I don't remember what I took. And then on his hand, his land was a fetch land, so I was thinking that it was possible he didn't even have like a green mana source. I think it's just crazy. But he sacked his fetch land for an Overgrown Tomb, played Arbor Elf. I drew Sinkhole, killed his land. He didn't play another land for 4 turns. I didn't get close to winning. I didn't even get close. And I played Phyrexian Arena on turn 3. And I just got demolished.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people. I had one mono black opponent who ritualed out Necro in both games and drew like 15 cards and lost both games fairly convincingly.
Necro sucks.
Like just ran out of gas with Necro. Like the one game I capsized disked him and I was just like, "Yep, blow him up. Blow him up. Blow him up." And he was just like, oh, "I'm not drawing a card for turn. This is kind of bad." Like that's just
blow him up. All right, well, I'm going to leave soon.
Yeah.
But guys, last question. Did anyone see the Avengers this weekend?
Yes.
Nope, too poor.
No.
Come on, seriously?
You're pathetic.
I mean, all I do is no, like my second monitor broke and I can't read my chat now, and I'm like that is what I am saving for. That is
you have
where
a job?
donations to me. Yeah, I have a job.
What do you do?
I walk dogs currently and
You
stream
walk
Magic.
dogs?
Yeah. Pretty
So Canadian.
exciting.
So Canadian.
All right, anyway.
Yeah.
Question.
All right. Like scale of 10, how good do you think it was?
I'll go with.
What's a 10? Do 10s exist?
I'll go with 8.5.
I mean, 10s probably don't exist, but I mean, 10 is like your favorite movie of all time, I guess.
I'm gonna go with 8.5.
8 seems reasonable. It was good. I think it was better than I thought it was gonna be, and it was pretty funny actually.
I thought it was very funny. I think 8.5 or 9 is right in my wheelhouse with Like my favorite movie being a 10, and like I was like a huge fan of the the X-Men movie. What's the new X-Men?
First Class.
Yeah, I thought that movie was fantastic.
Yeah, I like that
I
one a
thought that
lot.
movie was like right up there with Dark Knight for being like one of the best superhero movies. They're obviously very different movies, but I thought that First Class was insane.
It's
And I
not
think it
close
was,
to being as good as Dark Knight, but
what's that?
it was not even close to being as good as Dark Knight, but
Well, I mean,
it
there were
was
some things that I really liked about the movie.
it
So,
was very good.
but yeah, I think it's like if you think like Dark Knight's the best one, I think Avengers is right there with it. So, I thought it was fantastic.
That seems reasonable from what I've heard.
Yeah,
Did you
you should
guys
go see Poor Bastard.
did you guys see Cabin in the Woods? I heard that was good too.
I've watched it.
Okay.
I saw it. Everyone thought it was awesome. I
Oh, you
didn't think it was that
not
good.
not a fan?
I mean, it was
It
fine.
was okay.
Okay. Both not fans?
Jerry, what's better, Cabin of the Woods or Silent Hill?
Maybe Silent Hill, just because I got to
No.
go see it with
No way.
you. All right, Silent Hill was terrible.
You can tell that story if you want, because I'm sure people want to know.
It's not even that good of a story. It's like only good if they know you, really.
Does
I feel like they're getting to know me. I didn't know they were dead the entire movie. There.
Yeah, that's basically.
I walked
Wait.
out of the movie very confused.
What, which game was it based on? Like the first one or what? Or was it just like a generic Silent Hill plot
It
in a
doesn't.
movie?
I'm not entirely sure which game it was based on because I've never played any of them, but I went to go see the movie. It was my recommendation to go see the movie based off of like something I read. So I dragged like Jerry, Gabe Walls, like all of his roommates there.
There's like 10 of us.
So we go see it, and they're all very mad when they walk out of the theater. Everyone's mad besides me. And I just like can't figure out why everyone's mad. And I also can't figure out what happened in the movie.
just can't figure anything out.
I just can't figure anything out at all. And so I have to ask, like, what happened? And Jerry just gave me the verbal rundown, as only Jerry can. So that's
You know,
good.
we all walk out of the theater and we're like talking and complaining about how bad the movie is and everything. And then we're still, we're like off the sidewalk and we continue walking in the parking lot. We're like at the car because Gabe has handicapped license plates on his Escalade.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, where's Cedric? So like I turn around and I see him. He's still like standing on the sidewalk. It looks like he's having this huge revelation, like this life-changing moment. And he's like, wait a second. Were they dead the entire time?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, we all just lost it and
Yeah,
made fun of Cedric relentlessly.
that's right. That's right.
Did
Not the slightest. But that's okay. Well, I have to go study insurance now.
Well, thanks.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and then go watch the Grizzlies game. So, and
Yeah.
write my article that's due at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That'll probably be late by an hour. So,
But yeah,
Caitlin,
I don't want to make Lauren Lee and Caitlin too mad. So, I'm gonna get out of here. We can do parting things if you want.
Okay. Could we start with someone who's like Jarvis or something like that? Let's start with Jarvis. Jarvis, you need to have parting things.
Have a good one?
Alright.
You are so bad at talking.
Hey, at least I told them have a good one.
All right. Who's next?
I'm going next. Thanks for listening, guys. Tune into the PT over the weekend. Support streaming. Enjoy Magic. Read good books. And I just like moved my entire life from one apartment to another over 3 days. So sorry that like I don't have a real computer and also sound like a zombie. See you guys next week for Gamestate. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say is that it is totally my fault that we don't have a spiffy overlay this week. I'm just real dumb. Like it's totally my fault, no one else's. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. I had fun.
Jerry.
Yo, am I supposed to say
Mark.
bye now?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing you can do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to this pro tour thing in Spain this weekend, and I hope you guys want me to win.
I want you to
Cause
win.
okay, good. Cause I'm gonna need all the support.
Aren't you like the best Jerry Thompson to not have a Pro Tour top 8? Isn't that what I've heard about you? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I mean, I think that's pretty close to accurate.
All right.
But there's
Let's
a
change
reason.
that.
There's a reason that I don't have any top 8s.
It's because you suck,
Exactly. Cedric
and I'm
knows.
better than you, which is why I have one.
Correct.
Now that we've established that, I would like to wish you luck in the tournament along with Jarvis. Hopefully you guys do well. My article comes out Wednesday morning if I do it on time, which is a coin flip. It'll be about the Star City top 8 from Providence, and I've got some interviews from people who played in the tournament as well, so hopefully you guys look forward to that.
Cool.
And I'll probably be streaming the online PTQ this weekend over at my stream, Twitch TV/SetEP, along with birding the PT coverage. And if you don't know, watch out for Stephen Berkelid, Alaska's finest, because he's going to have a very nice PT this weekend.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Thanks.